It's Acoustic Alternatives from Grove Studios in Ypsilanti, the home of the podcast since the fall of 2020 when they invited me in to say, hey, we have a studio here and we'd love you to come do a podcast since you lost your radio gig. I'm like, who needs another music podcast? Turns out I did, actually. So it was a great open door. It's a positively wonderful place to, if you're a band and you need a place to practice so you don't disturb your neighbors, Grove Studios is your place, 24/7 operation. You can use the keypad, come in at 2 in the morning if that's good for you, 8 in the morning if it's good for you. They actually have discounted rates before noon, so it's a good idea if you're in the budgeting of your, how am I going to make this work for me? Come in early. They also have several different size rooms. We're in the biggest room. We're in the deluxe room. And today I'm going to ask a question as we lead into the podcast guest. What do the movie soundtrack Encanto, the mid-'80s Pat Benatar hit We Belong, and the video game Fallout 4 have in common? Well, they have Dan Navarro in common. Dan is my guest today on Acoustic Alternatives. Hello, Dan.
Hello, man.
It is good to see you again.
It's good to see you, too.
We ran into each other at the Trinity House show. Was that this year or last year? I've lost track now. But
that was, what a wonderful little venue that was. It was awesome.
Yeah. It's a
great
cool
town. Place. You know, of course, I'm from Southern California. I've traveled everywhere, but there are major parts of the country I haven't seen. And I've been to Ann Arbor many times.
Sure.
And stayed in Dexter before, where we stayed last night. But never been to Ypsilanti. And what charming, beautiful places.
Yeah.
I mean, green as can be and lovely towns. And I saw at least 2 Victorian houses I'd buy if I could. So
and wildlife, if you want to look for it. It's out here, too. We almost heard a sandhill crane, I guess, on the way. Doug, our cameraman, almost hit one of those today. Yes, it could be an adventure here in Ypsilanti for you for sure. 45 plus years in the entertainment industry, a veteran for sure.
Yeah.
And really, up until I did the research, I didn't know the breadth of what you did beyond playing the guitar.
It's been bizarre. I mean, all I really wanted to do was be a singer-songwriter. And songwriting happened first because that's where Eric Lowen and I got successful first. But I'd always thought, I'd like to do these other things. It'll never happen. And then opportunities would come up. And I'm crazy. I will say yes. So when somebody I dated who was a casting director said, do you want to do some voices on an animated series? I went, sure.
Sounds
when
fun.
A friend of mine said, do you want to sing a jingle in my garage? I said, yeah. And all of a sudden I became a jingle singer for about 15 years.
Wow.
And one thing led to another. You know, I guess the skill set, a lot of these things are related. Performing, you kind of have to turn it on when the red light's on. And I'm a little cuckoo. Grew up on American Top 40 radio and Saturday morning television, so I can do silly voices, and my brain goes all kinds of places. So opportunities came up. I mean, I coach classes in high schools and colleges, and I didn't go to the voiceover school, and I didn't go to the animation school, and I didn't go. So opportunities came up, and I went, sure, let's do it.
Well, I'm glad that you did, because it's a very interesting topic for a conversation. But we are going to start with what I know about you, which is singing and playing guitar. 2 guitars here. How about we start with a song?
Now, you know, someday somebody's going to say, why don't you play both at once? Which I'm not going to do.
I'll show you a video of a guy at 20 Street doing exactly that. 3 guitars at once.
And I actually have a third instrument in the car that I decided not to bring in. We call it a baguette. When the load is heavy and it's dragging me down, when I can't find my heading, too lost to be found, yeah, she leads me out of the darkness and calms my troubled mind with the magic and innocent wonder alive in her eyes. She dreams in music, she dances in laughter, glides on the wings of a dove, skips through the rain to the sun that comes after, lights up my world with her love. Now I've known trouble and troubles known me, my constant companion, till she set me free, with a peace and a grace beyond measure, and the kindest, most gentle of hands. Ah, she is the mystical treasure who makes me a better man. She dreams in music, she dances in laughter, glides on the wings of a dove, skips through the rain to the sun that comes after, lights up my world with her love. Oh, she sees things that I cannot see. That she sees in me. Oh, she dreams in music, she dances in laughter, glides on the wings of a dove, skips through the rain to the sun that comes after, lights up my world. Oh, she dreams in music, she dances in laughter, glides on the wings of a dove, skips through the rain to the sun that comes after, lights up my world with her love.
Sounds beautiful. Nicely done. From the newest album, a couple years old now, Horizon Line is the name of the disc. That is the lead track. It's called She Dreams in Music, from my guest Dan Navarro on the podcast today. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you, buddy.
So let's go way back. Like you were a kid at one point. Where did you go to school? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Calexico, California, a small town on the Mexican border, on the California side, just opposite Mexicali, Baja California, Mexico, about 120 miles from San Diego and about 200 miles south of L.A. Was raised down there. I was born in Los Angeles, moved there before I was 5, and did K through 12 down there. Went to LA to go to college. I went to UCLA and stayed. Landed in town just in time to discover Laurel Canyon and the Troubadour and a whole singer-songwriter scene that got under my skin. I sang but didn't play, so I bought a guitar to learn how to play. Then I started writing, and I was playing and writing and singing out, still in college, and thought, this is what I want to do with my life. Some 2x4 must have hit me in the head that I chose to do that. But I pursued it pretty actively. I got lucky early, then unlucky right away. So I did day jobs. I worked as a sound technician for a film company, worked for Tower Records, worked as a singing waiter, where I met Eric Lowen. And then all of a sudden, 10 years after I left college, boom, We Belong happened with Pat Benatar. But I grew up in a small town on the Mexican border, 99% Latino. My grandparents were all born in Mexico. I speak Spanish, and my folks were born in the U.S., so I'm second generation, which means I actually speak Spanglish.
Sure.
When you go in and out of Spanish and English in the same sentence, sure, or make up words, like troca is not the word for truck, and lonche is not the word for lunch, and reite is not the word for a ride, but those are the words you use.
Language adapts. It changes. And sometimes those words actually become words. Like vinyls is not a word. Right. Vinyls is being used so commonly now. I want to punch people, but not really. But it's going to become a word at some point. Stop it. It's not a word. It's no plural. Anyway, sorry, rant.
Oh, God. Yeah.
You did it too. Same thing I do when people use that word. No. I worked at a record store for 10 years. Never said the word vinyls, ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
You worked in record stores too?
I did. I
Oh
worked
my
at an
gosh.
independent record store on the east side of Detroit. One of the coolest.
It's a cult. It's a mentality.
Oh, man.
It's something. First of all, what is it? What's the John Cusack movie? High Fidelity.
Yes.
Seen it 4 times.
Yes.
And I like when the guy comes to the counter and he goes, "You're buying that for your daughter? Don't do that. Don't do that."
Yeah.
And it is funny that my friends and I would be sitting there judging people's purchases. We're making minimum wage. These are, 6-figure lawyers, and we're judging them because you really gonna buy that? Are you kidding? Get that instead.
I don't know for sure, but I'm going to bet it might have had the same impact on you that it had on me. My education that I use every day in my day job, which is I work for a radio station. That's what I've done for the last several years. If I hadn't worked for 10 years in a record store, my knowledge would be like this big. It's this big because I was exposed to so much stuff.
Well, and I worked for Tower.
Right.
Which meant it was a full catalog store.
Oh, yeah.
And they basically, this was in the vinyl days. This was in the 70s. The CD had not come out yet. We stopped stocking 8-tracks. We were stocking cassettes. But they basically said, if you're careful and if you're professional, you can open anything, play it in store. We have a certain collection of things designed specifically for in-store, but if you get a wild hair, just be really careful and go in the back and reseal it. Because customers would open things too. So we had a reseal machine, shrink wrap machine. And I would sit there and go, I bet I can sell this Keith Jarrett record and put it on and watch people come up. What is this playing? Where is it? And sell them. It's a mentality that is still in the forefront of my mind. It's been a long time since I did it.
One of my favorite jobs for sure. I loved it. Still in touch with the guy who owned the store. He's one of my friends still. It's just really cool. So backing up even a little bit further, because we briefly glazed over your lifetime. Because you lived through something I wish I would have lived through. You were, I believe, 11 when the Beatles were on Ed Sullivan.
Correct. I was 11. I was 11 when the Beatles came on. I had been singing at home, so to me it was all about Frank Sinatra.
Oh, great.
Because he was brilliant, and I learned tone color and phrasing and how to hold a note. And I was singing as a kid going, I can do this. And then the Beatles came out and I went, yeah, I can do this, but I want to do that. And I remember locking myself in my bathroom and trying to comb my hair over my forehead. It would boing back up. No, it's a boing. And like, okay. And we weren't allowed to grow our hair long in school because of the dress code.
Sure.
So as soon as I hit college. But yeah, the Beatles just completely changed everything. And trying to tell my dad, honest dad, this is really, really good. Trying to tell all of our parents that they weren't a fad. And, we went through the era and Freddie and the Dreamers were a fad. There were the Kinks and there was the Stones and there was the Dave Clark Five. Which one is better? And the Dave Clark Five were great hits, but they weren't Beatles. Nothing is, nothing was, nothing has been. And had it not been for Beatles, there wouldn't have been a Stones. There wouldn't have been a Led Zeppelin. There wouldn't have been any of that.
Yeah. Game changer for sure.
Right. I mean, it was, and I lived in Southern California, so I also listened to Beach Boys. But initially, it was all cars and surfing, and I didn't live near an ocean. If everybody had an ocean across the USA, well, yeah, you'd be 130 miles from me, and I can't do that. My cousin, Frankie, lived near an ocean, and he was one, you got to hear this record. It's called I Get Around. It's Boss, man. It's really bitchin'. And I'm going, Boss, bitchin'. Okay, I can do that. It was a tremendous education, though, to witness the way everything changed and how much it overtook our lives and how it just, we knew it wasn't a fad. There was something about them, and they had the goods. I'm still a major Beatles freak. I still listen to the stuff actively. I'll occasionally do a song, just because I can. And yeah, to see what it did. But the next big wave for me was the dawn of the singer-songwriter.
Joni Mitchell,
James Taylor, Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And I was a Buffalo Springfield fan, and I was a Byrds fan. But Crosby, Stills, and Nash was something completely different for me. And I was in college then. I mean, I'm dating myself here, but it is.
I already did when I said you were 11.
Well, the thing is, it's on Wikipedia, too. So, I can't exactly hide it.
No.
If I'm, when I'm when I would date, it's like they're going to do it quick, so you may as well just admit to it right away. You can't sit there and go, "Oh yeah, I'm no." The nose grows and you're done.
You mentioned Frank Sinatra, and actually one of my questions was like the crooner era. You kind of were a part of that too.
Oh, absolutely.
Because now my radio gig is not a AAA station like it used to be. I'm working at a jazz and blues station, and I'm doing a jazz show that is singer-songwriter based, but not really. It's like it's the Great American Songbook meets the modern day songbook. So I'm tapping into the Frank Sinatras and the Tony Bennett's for a jazz station, and then trying to find newer stuff. So was at the time, because I wasn't there, was Frank Sinatra considered jazz or a vocalist? Was Tony Bennett a jazz singer too?
He was he had already, because my dad was steeped in big band. He told me about Bob and Ray Eberle, and one of them, I'm not sure which one, was really who Frank was emulating when he did what he did. Oh. He lived through the big band era, the Harry James, Tommy Dorsey, Jimmy Dorsey, and then the minor ones, Kay Kaiser, Freddie Martin. And I'm a music head, so I've retained these. Merv Griffin and Mike Douglas, both vintage 60s and 70s talk show hosts, had been band singers. Doris Day was a band singer. And this is where your vocalists came out of before they became pop stars. Frank, this was at the height of his swinging Las Vegas, ring-a-ding-ding, tuxedoed, cocktail era. And it was the height of male hip. A little dated, in terms of its attitudes. It wouldn't exactly pass muster now. Sure looked cool. When I wear a tuxedo, I don't wear the one with the wing collars where you can see the strap on the tie. I wear an old 1960s vintage after 5 with the shawl collar, and I won't wear a straight tie. It's a bow tie, because that's the ethos on what then was the height of cool for gentlemen. Beatles changed all of that. Suddenly I'm buying Beatle boots and I'm wearing bell bottoms I grew up in the skinny tie era anyway. That's what my suit was in high school. It was very cool, but it wasn't jazz. Jazz to me was Miles Davis, was Lionel Hampton, was Coltrane. But then there was also the big band crossovers with like Benny Goodman, who was latter-day big band compared to, let's say, Harry James. But I grew up knowing what all of this stuff was. Dad made sure that I learned it all. And I loved it all. When you're sitting there going, you can't like Frank because you like John, Paul, George, and Ringo, didn't make sense to me. You like it all.
Love them both, yeah.
And, by the way, so on your show, there are some middle grounds. Harry Connick.
I'm using them.
Right.
People like it.
But my favorite, Blue Nile. First Blue Nile record. Listen to Heat Wave and Tinseltown in the Rain. And I'm sitting there going, I want Tony Bennett to sing these songs. You always breathe another air. And I'm sitting there going, Tony could do these songs. Heat wave, why is it falling down on the young and foolish? Hey, look out. And I tried to recommend it to somebody at Columbia Records once, and it never got any traction. But I think the guy's name is Paul Campbell. I'm not 100% sure.
It's Paul something.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. That first album, Hats had got better traction in the U.S. A Walk Across the Rooftops. And it's got some clanky synth sounds. But if you listen to the tone color and the construction of the songs, Tinseltown in the Rain, Heat Wave, it's Tony.
Yeah, I got to track those down. You're right. Yeah. I forgot about those records because I used to sell them. That's one of those, I was selling records in that part of the music industry era. Cool stuff. Well, thanks for the little deep dive. Because I want to squeeze in some songs and encourage people to learn more about you, musically speaking as well, would you like to do another song?
Sure.
May I request one? Because you sort of brought it to my mind in the last one. Better Man is one of the ones that probably has had the biggest impact on me when you sang it. I'm like,
that's good to know.
I want to write a song like that. That's when I heard that song, that was one of those, that's what I wish I knew.
Some days I'm like the devil, Some days I'm fast and true. Sometimes it takes all I've got just to make it through. When I'm lost in the darkness, you pull me from the cold and tell me I'm never alone. Now all I know is you make me wanna be a better man, a better man. Are you make me wanna be a better man? Sunlight is shining on my face. Storm clouds have faded away. Now I believe that I can fly on the wings of your perfect grace. Straight up into the heavens, above all the hurt and below. You taught me how to let it go. Now all I know is you make me wanna be a better man, a better man. Are you make me wanna be a better man, a better man. Are you? Make me wanna be a better man, a better man. Are you? Make me wanna be a better man, a better man. Are you? Make me wanna be a better man, a better man. Are you? Make me wanna be a better man. Whoa, a better man, yeah. Oh, a better man, yeah. Oh, a better man, are you? Are you?
Such a great song. Thank you for doing that. Dan Navarro is my guest today on Acoustic Alternatives. A song that I used to play back when I was doing college radio at WHFR in Dearborn, and that was part of the regular rotation on my show. Whoa! Guitar decided to take a dive. And it's just one of those songs when I heard it had an impact on me. It made me feel like, yeah, I met somebody who makes me want to do that too. And it was just one of those, like, that sort of like, that's what a song is supposed to do.
Thank you,
it's supposed to reach.
I haven't sung. I know that the last time I sang that, I've got a house concert I do in southern Minnesota every September for the last 15 years, and the hostess requests that. So the last time I did it was in September. It's been 7-8 months.
Do you regret those high notes now? Because that's
I was younger when we recorded that. I was younger when I wrote that, and because it's also recording where you can punch in, I would bear down and it would hit the note full voice, and live it's a crapshoot.
When I was working at that same radio station. This is sort of a weird thing to throw in here, but I'm going to throw it in here anyway because I'm pretty honest. I had a chance to do a phone interview with your partner because there was an ARC show we were promoting around that album, I think. Actually, I'd have to dig up the interview. And it was during the interview that I found out that he had ALS, and it was just a really awkward, like, oh my God, I don't know what to say. Like, I've never been confronted with that kind of a situation during a live interview, but it was beautiful that he shared it with me. It was like, this is what's going on.
It's who he was. And it's what he did. He went out of his way to make people feel comfortable about a very awkward situation, which is he knew he had a fatal disease.
Yeah.
He knew how the end would happen. He didn't know when. And none of us did. I had had experience with ALS. My ex-wife's father's significant other, when I was dating my ex-wife, got it and lived 5 months. So I'm saying to Eric, when he gets his diagnosis, you may be gone in a year. What do you want to do? And he said, I want to go out and finish what we started. I want to keep going till the wheels come off. And every year we'd go, well, I think maybe we got another couple of months. And a bit like the Passover story, he went 4.5 years and then lived 3 more. Yeah. He passed away 8 years after diagnosis, almost to the day. And but he was that guy. He would go out of his way to say, ask me about it. I'll talk about it. And he would blurt it from the stage. And my favorite, he's in a wheelchair. We're on stage, and he flips a U in the powered wheelchair, says to the audience, no one's more surprised than I am that I'm still here, but we're just a couple of dudes up here, a cripple and a man in a wheelchair. And I repeat that because that's what he would allow us to laugh at something that most people can't even think of without feeling awkward, uncomfortable. Don't go there. We can't talk about it. Yeah, we can. Of course we can. Yeah. And he also, of course it was a struggle. Of course it was hard. But he was the biggest proponent I've ever known, and he's taught me, as the friend that he still is to me, even though he's been gone 12 years, of fake it till you make it. And so he would put on a big smile and he would give kids at shows wheelchair rides. He would pick his feet up, lay the back down, and ride them like a little horse. He'd go up and down.
He was enjoying life.
And enjoying life, finding something positive to dig out of this horrible thing instead of dwelling on it. And I personally believe that's why he lived so long.
That's great. Thank you for that.
No, my pleasure, man.
It's Acoustic Alternatives at Grove Studios. I got to give them thanks because they do make a great home for me to have a podcast to do it in. I mean, without this place, there is no podcast. Without them encouraging me to follow hey, you used to do radio interviews all the time. Why don't you do them here? I'm like, well, I guess I could. And so Grove Studios, if you're a musician in the Ann Arbor, Detroit area, is a rentable space. Get out of the garage, get into the studio is what they used to say. I think they still say that. So if you want to make a lot of noise, if you want to be a DJ and practice your skills, there's a room over there. If you don't want a room as big as this one, there's a half-size room over there. If you want to master your record, there's a room next to me. You can play it really loud in there and hear what it sounds like. It's a cool space. Grove Studios, Ypsilanti, thank you for making this possible for me. And this conversation with Dan Navarro, which has been already heartwarming, and I haven't even dug into most of my questions. So let's just kind of go quickly, I guess, because I know you got to get on the road. What age did you start writing songs? Because I know you started on trumpet. I
started on trumpet when I was 10. I started singing at home when I was 9. Started on trumpet when I was 10. Quit for a couple of years at 12 and I think I quit for a year. There was a family tragedy when I was 10 that derailed the family. My band director from when I was taught was at the junior high, and he got me back on track, and I started playing French horn, which I did all through college. It became my thing. I started writing lyrics to songs with friends at 16, and I only wrote lyrics and would sing because I couldn't play the guitar. When I started UCLA, I didn't write anything for about a year. Second year, I said, this is stupid. I need to get a guitar and learn how to play. And I learned, James Taylor, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Cat Stevens, Joni Mitchell, things like that, Carole King. That was the era. And then at the beginning of my third year, I said, I need to start writing. And so I started writing music and lyrics in earnest and putting it out there, playing at the local student union and playing at the coffee house. And, then I would do the Troubadour Hoot Night. And that was by itself. I mean, the legends of what came out of the Troubadour are true, and I would see. I came in right after I was in the height of it, but when Eagles, Ronstadt, Jackson Browne, and all of those people, and the Byrds and all of that were happening, I came in after that era. But you could still see the energy of people hanging out in the bar and meeting, and I met Rosie Flores there. I met Jack Temchin, who wrote Peaceful Easy Feeling, there. I met Joel Raphael there, and countless people as I'm playing on this stage with legends, doing the Hoot Nights, because it's basically an open mic, but you had to apply, which means you were scheduled. Started writing songs in earnest my third year at UCLA. By my fifth year, because I went 5 years, I had taken a roundabout course. I entered a songwriting contest there and won. And a publishing deal and a record was supposed to come out of it. Neither, the money was good. It was $1,500 in Narrow, and $1,500 was maybe 5 months rent. So it was quite the stipend. But it kind of gave me confidence. People, I went and did a demo at a studio about a year later, and there was a music publisher there who was working on something, and he goes, "Bring me the tape." And he signed me up instantly, and I went like, "That easy?"
Doesn't happen anymore.
Well, and it wasn't again either. There was a long period that was fallow after that. I got a couple songs on records, 2 years and 3 years out of college, and then nothing for 7 years. It was that's
a distraction.
That's my parole officer is pinging me. I'm not allowed to leave the county without that knowing.
Well, at least now we know what time it is.
Exactly.
I kind of did want to know what time it was because I want to make sure I keep you on schedule here.
No, we're good.
It's now across the room.
Wanted to get it out of earshot. Yeah. But so that became my thing. One of the songs that got recorded was a song called "I Think It's Time I Learned How to Let Her Go," cut by Rusty Weir, who was an Austin outlaw guy on Columbia Records. I quit Tower Records. I'm on my way. I'm a songwriter. And then it didn't occur to me, I found out the record has to sell to make any money. And I had refused advances from the publishing company thinking, it's a loan. I don't want that. I was dumb. Didn't realize if you don't make it back, you don't have to pay it back. But the long and short of it was that that had happened, and it felt like a big failure when nothing happened. But it did get attention. And so people started going, "Oh, you wrote that song. You should meet such and such." So I stayed in and around it a lot and played out a bit. Taking a circuitous route through a singing waiter restaurant to meet Eric Lowen. Dead end job. Except I met Eric Lowen there, so maybe it wasn't so dead end.
Had a purpose.
It had a purpose, and a purpose that had lifelong repercussions. Multiple occasions in my life that I actually have put into sort of TED Talky kind of things that I do, where most of the major events that led to something serious happened either because I went, "Oh, what the heck, let's just do it," or I, basically just took a chance on something.
1984 was a big year, and not only did you have the "We Belong" song recorded, but there was a movie too that you were in, right? The Ratings Game, according to my research, you were in a movie.
I sang in the Ratings Game. It was the first time I sang in a picture. A college friend had been hired to score the movie, and he was also writing fake TV themes, and so and I ended up putting on a kind of he's got what he likes. He's living the life he loves, and I put on a character voice. And did it. That was the first movie thing I did. And, so the parallel tracks are already starting, where I'm now a hit songwriter, working in this other area that ended up leading to what has been a nearly 40-year career of doing that. And it still goes on. And Encanto, as you mentioned at the front of the show, I never expected any of them to hit or to take off. I just liked doing them. And I would show up ready and willing to give 110%.
Never know what's going to happen.
You never know what's going to happen. Here's what you do know. If you don't do it, nothing will happen. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Right.
So, and you risk rejection, you risk failure, and you just go, okay, now I know something. And every once in a while, one of those would bear fruit. And what was really weird, and I've used this equation before, it's a little bit like dropping ink on a piece of blotter paper in a circle. Well, eventually they started bleeding into each other. When all of a sudden I'm singing in a movie and then I'm asked to write some of the lyrics, or I'm doing a show and somebody goes, "Oh God, I'm watching you here. You'd be really good for this voiceover." And things literally started crossing like crazy.
That's why I can't get any voiceover work. You're taking it all. No.
Well, I'm also, I'm willing to I'm willing to talk like people that I'm really not. And I don't really know why. I'm Latino, right? I'm from the border. I was raised on the Mexican border. I speak Spanish. But when I talk crazy, I like talking like some old Jewish guy. They're sitting there going, oh, my God, my back hurts every day. Oh, boy. Oh, my feet hurt. Why can't my head hurts and I've got all the ends covered? And it's just silly.
It's a gift.
Well, it's
It is.
a gift. It's a curse.
Yes.
But I think this is one of the things that we want to teach younger people. If it's in your head, mine it. Listen to it. Use it. You know, my uncle, God love him, who owned an advertising agency that I worked at when We Belong happened, and he is Dave Navarro's dad, made a comment once that never left my mind. A writer, which can also apply to any creative person, is the only person around who is working when they're daydreaming. And I love that.
Yeah. That needs to be worked into a song.
Yeah.
Well, something happened in '87 too. There, you were in the you had a song in the Roxanne movie called "Party Tonight." I've tried to track the song down. Does it exist?
It's only in the movie. They never made a soundtrack record. One of my co-writers, Rick Boston, was working with Skunk Baxter, who I knew from. We had a publishing deal at the same publishing company. I've known Jeff Baxter, Doobie Brothers, Steely Dan. I've known Skunk since '86. And so here we are in late '86, and Rick says, hey, you've been singing in these movies. You want to come sing on this one that we're submitting for this movie, Roxanne, with Steve Martin? Sure. It was really a fairly blatant cop of Everybody Have Fun Tonight by Wang Chung. And I start making up lyrics for it and making up melodies, and I'm going, yeah, I don't think I want my name on this. They're going to get sued. So I refused to credit. I sang it. And nobody ever cared, so nobody got sued. Had a great time with Skunk and Rick. I see Skunk lately more often than I see Rick, but they're still dear friends. And I got the opportunity to do something, and I remember the moment I'm watching my name on the crawl go by. In it, one of the premises of the movie is that the Daryl Hannah character is an astronomer. Not astrologer, and she's tracking a comet. And so the comet is going across the sky. Now, comets, when you see them in the sky, don't whoosh across the sky. Those are meteors. Comets go slow because they're so far away, even though they're going super fast. So it's crawling through the sky, and the comet goes through my name. And I'm going, that's a sign. Oh, my God, I'm going to be huge.
A star on the rise.
I wasn't huge, but it sure was cool.
Yeah.
And you know, it's been a path peppered with great successes, enormous disappointments, fascinating stories, and I dare say, above all, I've had a blast.
Well, you and Eric wrote "We Belong," and it was a hit in '84, but you didn't actually start performing out with a recording until 1990. So you have a 6-year gap.
We were pro songwriters, writing with a lot of the other pro songwriters, and pitching to everybody here. When they need a song for Chicago, they need a song for Tina Turner. We got a couple of those placed. Eric wrote a song with a guy named Pete Peterkin that the Four Tops cut. I wrote a song with David Bryant that Dionne Warwick cut. We wrote a song that the Temptations put on a children's record that we wrote with Rick Boston. So we were in there, and we were part of the pool, working with people, working together, and pitching. A band got started out of We Belong that I wasn't in. That's its own dark story of how We Belong happened. That I'd been in a band with these guys before. They asked me to leave because I wasn't that good, and I was focusing on my day job. Out of the frustration and anger, I fell out of touch with Eric for a while. He called me out of the blue and said, do you want to write a song? And I decided, suck it up, dude. Just go do it. He's hurt your pride, but go do it. And that night we wrote We Belong. So we started this partnership, and they put another band together that I wasn't in. Eventually, after 3 years, that became frustrating, and I actually said, I shan't work with you again. I want a divorce. I want to sing. You're not letting me in the band. Fair enough. Then one day, Eric said, the band's told me I can do whatever I want. You're in the band. And we did one show, and everybody else quit. So we're looking at each other going, now what? He goes, hey, man, let's do that acoustic duo thing we've been talking about for 7 years and have never done. There's no, it could not possibly be less hip. Let's just go do it. And we found a bar in a seafood restaurant in Mar Vista, California, and we started doing a weekly. We did 2 sets and had a 3rd set with friends, and we played every week for 2 years and got better and built a repertoire and started building an audience. Next thing we knew, within about 6 months, we were packing the place. Within about a year, record companies that we were friends with were going, hey, got this little duo. You guys want to make a record? No, man, we don't want a record deal. We lied. We don't want a record deal. And then a guy came in who didn't know us, and said, I'm ready to offer you a deal right now on this label. It's an independent. And we went, let's do it. And that was the Chameleon record. That was Walking on a Wire. More fortuitous stuff. Jim Scott, the producer, had gone to a show to hear another artist on the same label. And we opened the show, and he goes, I don't want to work with that artist. I want to work with Lowen and Navarro, which started a long partnership. 4 albums he produced, a 5th album he mixed, a 10-year break. He produced the Learning to Fall album in 2008. Another big gap, and he just produced the Horizon Line album. And he produced, with me, Jessie Lynn Madera, who is a new artist. Jim and I co-produced her album that's out now. Jessie and I have a duet on radio now called Last Call, co-write duet. And suddenly I'm a record producer with Jim, who's, Jim engineered Tom Petty's Wildflowers. He's multiple Grammy winner and as skilled and as feet on the ground, no nonsense, just go make the record. I'll do my part and I'll make it sound enormous. So at any rate, out of those sliding doors moments came this pattern, and we just kept going and going and going. And we realized that after surviving multiple record companies and upturns and downturns in our fortunes, Eric and I hung together and still drew audiences. We thought we could go forever until ALS.
Well, one of the cool things that did happen that wasn't as sad as the end was that not a lot of bands did fan club records, and you guys have 13 of them.
Yeah, we did them every year.
And I just realized by doing research that, hey, I can get all of those because you were kind enough to make it available for your fans, your entire catalog on a flash drive.
Yep, so it's on a flash drive that looks like it's a rubber flash drive where Eric and I are South Park characters, and you split it apart, and my part goes into the computer, and Eric's part you can throw away. No, I say that though. He would be saying the same thing. It's quite the collection, and it's what's most entertaining about it to me out there is that there's about 5 hours of demos. Wow. I mean, we're talking 5 versions of Pendulum, 4 versions of Spring is Late This Year, and demo after demo after demo, where you can see slight changes in lyrics and hear how the songs evolved. It really is a peek behind the curtain. 27 concerts, 31 radio shows. I mean, literally, it's
only $99. It's like
only $99.
Your entire life's work is only worth.
Well,
$99.
but I tell you, I guarantee you, it's $99, but there's $104 worth of material.
Of course, there is. Take me at least that to track down the original fan club CDs.
No, they're so much fun, and they're on there, kind of as they were. It's and the fan club CDs was us just going, what can we do next? And there were demos and live tracks. The original demo of We Belong from, I think, the day we wrote it is on there.
Wow. The
Fly Swatter demo, which is the one that got the cut, is not. That's Fly Swatter demo is a piece of it in the video you've got there, the DVD. But the original, the night we wrote it demo, and my favorite part of that is, we got together at 8:30 in a given evening, and he could only make music till 10. We had 90 minutes. And you can lightly hear at the tail end of the track, boom, 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 neighbor pounding on the door going, it's 10 o'clock, you got to stop. Boom, boom, boom. It was, it's a trip through our history. And
cool. I'm looking forward to grabbing one from you before you leave. My guest today on Acoustic Alternatives is the wonderful Dan Navarro, who's got 2 guitars. I don't know which one he's going to grab next, but this would be an excellent time to play another song.
Depends. Ooh, if it's up to me.
It's up to you.
I'm going to do... probably, let me grab this baby.
Your friend the capo.
Probably one of my two favorite songs on the new album.
Okay.
And one that I didn't think would work. One that had what I consider to be a really unfortunate title. And I actually told... This was co-written with Deborah Holland from Animal Logic. Every minute around the world, 250 babies born. Some with a silver spoon, some with a belly full of dreams. What ties them all together, the desire to uncover what life means. You can swim against the tide, you can stand in a hurricane, try and scale the mountainside, knowing it could be all in vain. We're circling the drain. There are times you're flying high and all the pieces lock in place. You're on a gambler's roll, you got the golden touch all right. But just as quick, the magic's gone, slipped right through your fingers overnight. You can swim against the tide, you can stand in a hurricane, try and scale the mountainside, knowing it could be all in vain. We're circling the drain. Well, you can try so hard, you're spinning. We've got this time on earth, why not live it for all it's worth? And be a little more forgiving. You can fill your cup with sun, drink up every last drop until it's done. Swim against the tide, you can stand in a hurricane, try and scale the mountainside, knowing it could be all in vain. But we keep trying just the same. We're circling the drain, circling the drain, circling the drain, circling the drain.
Such beauty and sadness. Circling the Drain from the latest Dan Navarro record, which looks like this. You can find it online everywhere you listen to or buy music. You should buy music. It's a little bit more helpful.
You can actually buy music. A lot of people don't know that. You can actually, that they actually take MP3s and they paint them onto pieces of plastic. And they put them in a little thing. You can use the plastic as a coaster after you rip it to your device. Now, as did you, I grew up on physical media.
Yeah.
And I still like the tactile experience. And I've got my brother-in-law is, 20 years younger than I am, and he likes books. My son is 28, and he likes books. He doesn't buy Kindle files. He's not interested. He wants books. Yeah. And so some people still like the tactile experience. In order for it to become an experience as opposed to wallpaper. Now, look, there's nothing wrong with wallpaper, but it's not going to move you. Mm-mm. Wallpaper will keep you surrounded and pacify you and be fine. And I do put music on as wallpaper. I don't listen to it. When I'm listening, I want to hold it, put it on, either drop a needle or push go, and pay attention to the words, to the changes, to the melodies, to what the singer is doing. And I hang on every note. When the singer strains and then that strain is released, I'm on the ride with them. When they change a melody in the second verse and then really change it in the third, I'm on that ride with them. That's what it's all about to me. And there are others like us out there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, clearly you've written beautiful songs and you put them in a physical thing.
I look, and you've got the catalog.
I've got the catalog behind me. Yeah, it's here.
We're about to hook you up with the little rubber thing.
Yeah, I'm going to get that. Circling the Drain reminded me a little bit of Fragile by Sting lyrically. It's that sort of we're all, don't forget, life is fragile.
Don't forget life is fragile. And it's true. And the thing is, there's always, because, when she first wrote, she wrote something to a chord progression that she had heard me do. And I went, that title, why don't we just tell people to go out in the backyard and shoot themselves? And she said, well, no. She hadn't finished it. I want to put in the line that we still keep trying.
Yeah. You're not done yet. You're not done yet.
You're not done yet. Yeah. It's better than being in the drain.
Yeah.
And, I'm afraid when you're in the drain, you're not going to know the difference anyway. But I'm enjoying the ride. Yeah. And my ride's not done. As you pointed out, I've been touring for over 34 years.
Long time.
I've been working I've been making my living at this for over 40, and I've been working professional for 47 years. And it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And I hope to never stop. That's my goal.
Die on stage if you have to.
Absolutely. And I've
Did Mojo Nixon
happened to a friend of mine about 3 or 4 years ago at 2020 at the 30A Festival on the Florida Panhandle. David Olney went on stage, and he went on right after I'd left the stage. I saw him, gave him a hug. Hey, I'll see you next week at Folk Alliance in New Orleans. And he got on stage. It was in Writers in the Round, and he kind of went, me too. I just, hang on. Gone.
Wow.
Put his head down. No big dramatic, didn't clutch his chest and drop to the floor. He bowed his head, and everybody thought he was just taking a minute. Well, apparently he was taking all the minutes. And they kind of realized, and his wife was in the audience, which is sad. But as a dude, I'm just sitting there going, yeah, can I please go that way? Mm-hmm. That's how I'd like to go.
Or in my sleep, one of the two.
Fall asleep on stage, never wake up, doing something you love.
Yeah.
And freaking a lot of people. No, I'm kidding. All right, that's me kidding, but no one's ever kidding.
My card fell and my brain was going, Deborah Holland, married to Michael McDonald? No, wait.
That's Amy Holland.
Thank you.
And Amy Holland is an old friend. She, 3 or 4 years ago, cut Walking on a Wire.
Oh.
On a record. She had a hit with How Do I Survive that was written, I think, by Michael. She's an old friend. I remember when she came to me, she had dated Michael McDonald at one point, and they'd stopped. She was involved with a friend of mine. That's how I knew her. They split, and she was playing a little restaurant gig, and she came in and said, I just re-met Michael McDonald after several years. We used to date before. I don't know. I got this vibe like I think he's going to ask me out. Boom. Married, children.
Seems to be.
But she
working.
recorded a record. I want to say like 20. I think it was pre-COVID. I think it was
I can
2018.
picture it.
Yeah,
I can picture
2018, and she cut Walking on Wire.
Cool, very cool. Well, your career has been varied and interesting, and at not a lot of people who are like Lowen and Navarro weren't really a household name. They did well, but to have a tribute album is an unusual thing for a band at that level.
The tribute album was put together to benefit Eric when he got his ALS diagnosis, and also to be a benefit to 2 ALS charities out there.
That's great.
The ALS Network in Los Angeles and Augie's Quest, which was started by a guy named Augie Nieto, who had invented the Nautilus exercise machine, became very wealthy, and then his body started failing him. So it was done for that. Janice D'Alessandro, our dear friend, Kevin McCormick, who was then bass player with Jackson Browne, and our former manager, Mike Gormley, put the whole project together and got Jackson Browne and Keb Mo and John Ondrazik and the Bangles and Deborah Holland did that with the Refugees, which was her group with Wendy Waldman and Sidney Bullins. And I mean, Eddie from Ohio.
I'm a big fan of Eddie. Yeah, the band was great. I love them.
No, I got to say it was stunning. It came out, I want to say 2006, and I remember when I got
2009.
2009. When I got my copy of it, you know what? The idea happened in 2006, and she just wanted to make sure it got done before Eric left. When I heard Jackson Browne singing "Weight of the World," I had to pull over and weep, because Jackson Browne was probably the closest to an idol I have. We are casual friends, good acquaintances. We say hi when we see each other. I've known him for years. We're not pals, and I don't mean that disparagingly. I don't want to embellish into a full-blown friendship, something that is a pleasant acquaintanceship where I see him, we give each other little shoulder hugs and chat for a minute. But he doesn't call me up when he needs gas money,
or a ride to the
or
doctor.
vice versa.
Yeah.
I don't, hey Jackson,
it's a cool thing.
It was a wonderful tribute.
Well, you have a newer album that has come out just a couple of years ago, and this one's called Horizon Line. Right during the pandemic, we're sort of done. Were these songs at all informed by what was going on in the world, lyrically speaking? Is there pandemic in here?
Circling the Drain is the closest to pandemic in there. Most of those songs were written before pandemic happened, but pandemic was so pent up that when I went out on my first tour in April of 21 in a van, I was driving across the country, and I hit Virginia 4 days in, and I went, wait a minute, you're not doing anything in July. Call Jim Scott, see if he's got time. Hey Jim, I got a pack of songs. Can we make a record like we used to make in the old days? He went, heck yeah, we can. And we did 13 days in July and got most of the way through the record. I hit the road. He had other projects, so we didn't get the second brace of 12 days until February. So it was 7 months, 7-month gap between the two. August of 21, July of 21, and then February of 22. And that was 12 more days. The whole record was done in 25 days with no aspersions cast on the Lowen and Navarro records. Broken Moon is one of the best records I can even imagine. But this is a record I've dreamed of making my whole career. And
it's a damn good one.
To get to do it in this advanced stage, I mean, Lowen and Navarro, 14 albums, 8 studio albums, 2 of my second of my own. And this came a year after the All Wood and Lead that I did with James Lee Stanley.
Yeah.
If I never make another record of original material, I'm happy with this. And the next couple of records are going to be concept driven. My next record, whenever I do get to it, I'm hoping this summer, will be a Spanish language record.
Okay.
And I'll do Spanish. After that, I want to do a torch song, jazz trio record. Go back to those old roots and do My One and Only Love and Our Love Is Here to Stay. And probably a couple of songs I've written, one called Everyone's Drinking But Me that I wrote with Deborah Holland, and one called Paradise.
Cover the Blue Nile on this record.
Pardon me?
Cover the Blue Nile on this record.
I will. Oh, my God. Oh,
you have to
God.
now.
What am I thinking? Heat Wave.
You have to.
Oh my God!
Bring the classic to the modern. That's what this.
You've done it.
Yeah,
you've done it, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here. I had not thought of that.
Why not?
That's absolutely on the list because I don't need to write it all. I want to do songs that fit the ethos, and I don't want to do. No offense to Rod Stewart. No offense to Linda Ronstadt, who did Great American Songbook Records. This is really more about me doing that crooner record with a very small combo. Probably cut it in a week, live with a great pianist and an upright bass player, a very cool mellow drummer, and maybe a sax player. Maybe not. Who knows? But oh, yes, thank you.
You're welcome. I like bringing ideas to the table.
You'll get a thank you on the record for that one, pal.
So the 7-month gap, were you doing the Dan Van tour during that time? When you were
the 7-month gap, I was doing the Dan Van tour like crazy. And Jim was working with, he was working mostly with Hanson.
Okay.
He did a record for Hanson that took up most of the rest of that year. So I was busy. He was busy. We would trade notes going, hey, I've been listening to this rough. What do you think of this? So we had it in our minds, but we didn't work. And there was no danger that it was going to fall apart. Interestingly, coincidentally, it also made the record affordable because I had a few months to build up more funds because I would pay him at the end of every session. I didn't run up a big bill. I mean, it was expensive. No offense. It wasn't.
You got to pay for quality.
Jim is world class, and he charges a world class price. And you get his world class A game for 12 hours, not for 5, not for 4. And it was worth every penny. So much so that when Jessie Lynn Madera's manager came to me, what should she do? I said, you got to go to Jim. He's expensive. Here's what he costs. He's not overpriced. And Jessie, after 2 sessions where she asked me to participate, said, I want to do more. It became the brain trust. And while we expanded from the 2 songs she asked me to produce to 14 songs, 11 of which ended up on the record. So she got it.
Yeah.
It's the difference between, a well-running Chevy Malibu and a Corvette or, a really serious, grounded, incredible vehicle.
Just became a commercial for him.
Pretty much. He's awesome.
So the Dan Van tour, for people who don't know, is what he was doing to make a living during the pandemic with a big van that had, graphics on it. Did anybody break into the van? Because it's like an advertisement.
Well, the graphics were magnetic. So I would remove them when I parked.
Smart.
I would have them when I was outside shows.
Good man.
Paul Wiltberger, my road guy who's with me here, he said, I said, well, I was thinking of maybe, painting on the side. He goes, don't do that. Why don't you just add? And so then I was actually thinking, I'm pointing at him now, of putting, Dan's Heating and Cooling and making it look like. Then he goes, no, they're going to break in even more.
Yeah.
They're going to sit there going, I don't know what I'm going to do with a guitar, but I could certainly use a toolkit.
Yeah, that's right.
And so they
still the guitars anyway.
And actually, I also discovered that if you don't lay them perfectly flat, and I got some masonite panels to store them in, but a couple times I'd throw them in the back. If you don't lay them flat, they change shape. And each of the 2 side ones eventually, in separate incidents, caught air and blew off on the freeway. I'd get there going, oh, it's gone. It's on a freeway somewhere outside of Goshen, Connecticut, and Kansas City, Missouri.
We only briefly glazed over the part of your career, which is the voiceover career. I wanted to point out, because it's discrepancy between your lengthy list on your website, which is like, holy crap, I had no idea, and like the 17 mentioned on IMDb, which is
right.
Which is like, somebody's not paying attention here. But
well, and I actually became a contributor to IMDb to get some stuff up there, but they have rules on how some of that stuff goes and how it can go up. I have to list all the Family Guy stuff as miscellaneous crew because it's Loop Group.
They're just in the background?
Yeah, background noise voices with 4 other actors. And I've done 260 episodes of Family Guy and 230 of American Dad, but they're listed under miscellaneous crew. Invincible, which is a series that's on right now, the producers of that have been gracious enough to list myself and the other 3 actors who do Invincible as actors, voice various. And it is voices in various. So I've done 14 episodes of Invincible, literally 1 on Monday, remotely. I did it from my room in Washington, D.C., while the rest of the kids were in L.A. And it's a job, it's a living, brings me health insurance through the Screen Actors Guild and pensions. Go figure.
Yeah, and you've been nominated, and part of your work has been winning in that category. Some of those categories.
Weird.
It's a nice.
I'm still sitting there going, how does that work?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a cool, like, I didn't even know this was happening. I'm a fan of the man's music, and then I read about all these other things he's done. I went, wow, okay. I mean, it's hard to make a living just being a singer-songwriter on the road, but at least he's got this other income. And I did hear We Belong in a commercial the other day, so he's probably getting a royalty check for that.
I am. Well, yeah, I am.
So
I am.
Paul
heard it just yesterday. He stopped in the middle of it. Dan, it's on.
I don't remember what commercial it's for, but I heard
Sargento cheese.
There you go.
The Disney Hulu 2-pack, Corona beer.
It's all over.
Oh my God! What is the name of the video game franchise? Elder something. Whoa, God! There is a online multiplayer role playing game. It's in my phone, which is not.
That's
here.
okay.
But basically, it's going to be the commercial for that for 3 months, and I'm going, what? How did that happen?
That's not what I wrote the song about.
Well, and the thing is, it also didn't happen right. It was a big hit,
Yeah.
and then it did what big hits do. They go away, and then they come back a little bit, and then all of a sudden, it's been 40 years. At the 25-year mark, it's a little more each year, and I'm going like, And one of the things that I surmised, a 20-year-old in 1984, when they're turning 35 and 45, are becoming invested in nostalgia about their upbringing and their youth. Well, now that 20-year-old in 1984 is 60, and they're into it. So it's turned into something I had nothing to do with. I'm grateful. I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
And I laughed my head off. But I'll tell you, you didn't ask this, but of all the things I've done, there are 2 bits of work that get people to, literally, oh, wow, yeah, you wrote We Belong. Man, I love that song. Oh, Lowen and Navarro records, they were really good. Wait a minute, you were in Fallout 4? Oh, dude, this guy was Dean Volkert in Fallout 4. Dude, I had to kill you. You were mean. Oh, man. That, the 2 parts I did in Fallout 4, which sold 12 million units, of which I don't get a piece, but am I mad? No. Have I gone on strike to try to get it? Yes. I'm a SAG-AFTRA activist and leader.
You're on the
Cilantro,
board, right?
the rude mariachi on American Dad. I'm saying.
Oh,
didn't ask for this, but you can.
It's okay, we're good.
El perro es mi corazón. El gato no es bueno. Cilantro es cantante. Cilantro es muy famoso. Cilantro es el hombre con el queso del diablo. That means cilantro is the man with the devil's cheese. El perro, nunca sin razón. El gato es obsceno. Cilantro es caliente, cilantro es cariñoso. Cilantro te da besos mejor que su esposo. Cilantro can kiss you better than your husband. And people flip. Oh my God, dude. Because there are dozens of videos of people singing the Cilantro song in their bedrooms on YouTube. And it's been featured in 5 episodes of American Dad. And I'm just like, I just sing the words that are in front of me. Hey guys, some of these lines they're all stupid, but some of these don't make sense. You should say this. And then they give me a writer credit. Go figure.
Nice. Spanish thing you did too that I stumbled into was covering the Doors in Spanglish, I guess, because you were
and that I had done the Playmobil movie with Heitor Pereira, who was the composer, who was a member, the guitar player in Simply Red with Mick Hucknall.
Yeah.
And I had worked on that movie, and I had a little part in it. So he remembered me, and he called me like 4 or 5 years later. I'm doing demos for Puss in Boots 2. Will you do demos for me? In pandemic, shut down. I record it at home, send it in. A few weeks later, I'm on my way to Highland, Indiana, and we go, we've got changes. I go, I'll set up at Paul's house. I sat up in his guest room. I put the things together, sent in changes. I did 6 different, not completely different versions, but hey, we're doing the chorus, we're changing the lyrics. We're doing a chorus, we're raising the register. We're moving the bridge into the second spot and putting the chorus later. And so I kept doing demos. all to teach Antonio Banderas the song. Never expecting anything beyond that. They let me be part of the backing group on it as a reward. And so I got a full-blown session fee and a part in the movie. And then about 4 months before the movie came out, they got this one scene doing this Doors song. You think you might be able to do it in the next few days? I go, you guys, I don't live in L.A. anymore. I moved to Palm Springs. I'm in L.A. right now. They go, come on over. So I went over to the producer's house and sang This Is the End, Amigo Si El Fin, the Doors song that I grew up on.
Yeah.
You know, they left out, thank God, the killer awoke before dawn. Yeah. Father, yes, son, I want to kill you. And all the really dark stuff. And in the movie, it's classic. And I'm listening going, wow. But hey, they say, can you? I say, yes. I show up. I do my best. And then it goes how it goes. You know?
Congratulations on really a great career that's not
Thank
done.
You, buddy. I appreciate it.
One more song before I let you go, because I just saw your watch and I can kind of see what time it is, and we're close to the he's got to go time. While he's
what would you like from the old? Oh, actually I know what I'd like to do. All is quiet tonight. The stars are in their places. The moon will give us light to see into each other's faces. And I know the road is hard, but if we carry on together, we will get by. We live our lives in the eye of a hurricane. We cast our fates on seas of indifference, but all along the shoreline, we look for a chance to believe the darkness will fade and the promise will survive. Until I hear you say, all is quiet tonight. The stars are in their places. The moon will give us light to see into each other's faces. And I know the road is hard, but if we carry on together, we will get by. All is quiet tonight. The stars are in their places. The moon will give us light to see into each other's faces. And I know the road is hard, but if we carry on together, we will get by. All is quiet tonight. We will get by. All is quiet tonight. We will get by. One from the old days.
Thank you for that. My guest today on Acoustic Alternative is Dan Navarro. You can check out his website to find more about him. You can find out about the cruise that he's doing in late August if you want to spend some time with him face-to-face, go on vacation with him. Because what are you doing in August anyway? You should go on vacation.
It's Barcelona to Tangier.
Yeah.
Tangier.
Why not? One final question, because I'm looking at the watch again. I've experienced family harmonies when I do interviews sometimes, and they're so unique, and the family harmonies just like, there's nothing quite like it. Your cousin Dave obviously has had a pretty successful career as well. Have you ever thought about doing something with him? It's two different worlds.
We've only done it once. We did talk at one point. He says, I'm ready to do something with you, and then it never happened back in the very late 90s. And in early 2021, we got into a phone conversation about David Bowie on the anniversary of his birth and death, which were roughly the same period. Yeah. And we started talking about old Bowie songs. And he goes, we've never talked about music other than our own stuff. What are you doing right now? I went, nothing. He says, come on over. Let's do a video of Quicksand. Oh, wow. I went, oh my God, I learned the song. This is fabulous. Oh my God, this is going to be great. And I went out to the car, and because I hadn't touched the Prius in 3 weeks, it wouldn't start. I had left it on. Because it's Prius. It was quiet.
Very quiet.
I left it on. It killed the battery, and I missed my window. No. We never got to do that. But one time in the very late 80s, when he was just starting Jane's Addiction, we went to a party that was thrown by Donovan Leitch Jr., who was the lead singer in the project band that Camp Freddy that he had with one of the guys from The Cult, and I think one of the guys from Guns N' Roses, and Donovan. Well, that's where they met, and we did a version of The Wind Cries Mary with my brother Johnny singing lead. Dave and I played guitars. We called ourselves the Navarro Boys. That's nice. We haven't played together. It's a family relationship, and we look out for each other, and we stay in touch. Yeah. But we really have never done that much. Cool.
Well, thank you for the stories, the songs, and check out more information again. Find the latest album, Horizon Line. I'll put it up again so people can see what it looks like. And thank you to Grove Studios for being an excellent home. Grove Studios is a spot where you can rent the space any time of day, 24/7. If you want to do some loud music, you want to do some practicing, you want to shoot a video in here like we did, you can do all those things here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, man.
Great to meet you.
Very much.